Dipper is a technology platform that guides professionals of color to a better workplace, one review at a time.
Dipper is your safe space. It is the time for you to share your voice with a community that you are a part of. Visit us and join today at ourdipper.com.
Welcome. Hi, Jacinta.
Hi, Meta.
I'm loving that color that you have on right now.
Thank you so much. Trying to brighten up the day. I've been trying to exercise every morning, and I think it has made me not as tired as possible, but even if it's for 20 minutes, it's helped. And so I'm going to put on something bright.
Yeah, well, you're growing, and I love it.
Thank you.
I'm here for it, okay?
Thanks, girl.
Well, as always, Jacinta and I always like to start off with run to ourdipper.com right now.
Absolutely.
Sign up, rate and review all of the companies that you've ever been a part of. It's really important that we begin to collectively share our workplace experiences. If you're having an excellent experience, we want to know, share that on Dipper, right? To guide other people to that organization. If you're not having the best experience, we want to hear it as well. So what's working, what's not? We want to guide each other to better workplaces, right? So Jacinta, today we have a very interesting topic, and folks were really excited about it. There's been a lot of talk around volunteering and working. And so the title today is, I'm not volunteering at work, so pay me. The title's funny, right?
It is. And we're not saying, yes, you should help the community. This is not, I guess, before we dive in, what this conversation is not, we're not telling you to volunteer at that food pantry. Don't volunteer at the food pantry. That's not what we're saying. We're saying, yes, do those things. Volunteer there. Do lots of things. But Netta, do you find that folks you talk to, especially people of color in the workplace, they're being asked to volunteer within an org to sometimes deliver or perform in a function that is not their job description, and is not really helping them to move to the next level either?
Absolutely. Hands down, it's happening at many organizations, unfortunately. And the areas that I see it the most is within ERGs, employee resources, right? Within organizations. There's so many organizations that are not paying those folks that are dedicated and committed to driving ESG or DEI efforts within an organization.
Right.
And they are those that are marginalized within the organization. And that is really hard to see and to watch. Now, I know that there are organizations. There's one organization I have to definitely give a shout out to, Uncork. They pay their employee resource group leaders, they want to make sure that they're committed and they're dedicated to that. And they have sponsors, right, within ERGs as well. But many organizations don't. And I think what's even more hurtful is when you see larger organizations that are definitely bringing in the profits, have
their resource, they have the money,
but they're not paying those folks. And that's hard. That's really hard to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think even as a professional, sometimes we may get asked to volunteer in a professional capacity.
Right.
It could be outside of your organization too. And I think I recently had this come up, and you have to think about what are you most passionate about, and how is this an investment in direct order to that passion? It doesn't have to. I've definitely heard the quote, I think I saw it on TikTok, and it was a viral sound of I'm only doing things that serve me. Yes, I mean, I get it. But sometimes I feel like I'm also called to serve others, right?
Yeah.
And so, but I, of course, I'm going to serve myself, but I'm also called to be of help and serve others.
Yeah.
But there's a time and a place for that, right?
Right.
And you have to. And so the reason we're kind of telling people to halt, to call the boundary, is really, we need to reduce burnout, right? Like what is over volunteering, overly signing up to all the things? It leads to burnout, right?
Right. And here's the thing, people join for-profit organizations to get paid,
For
right?
profit.
For
Hmm.
profit,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
again, and I love the disclaimer that you put out. We're not saying don't volunteer at that food pantry, don't volunteer for that nonprofit organization. Please get in your volunteering hours. We're talking
Hmm.
about when you're at a for-profit organization that you are hired for as an employee and you're taking on even more tasks, but you're not being compensated for it or even recognized. Because I think
Hmm.
that is another component. We were talking earlier about this, right? And I think even if there was a level of recognition that then helped to propel one's career in the right direction, people may be more open to like, yeah, let me take on that extra task, right?
Yeah.
Take on this extra task because I know it's going to get me here. There is an agreement that
Hmm.
if I'm taking on this task, here is the next level that I'll be at. But if that
Hmm.
agreement is not set in place, and now you're just taking on that work and you're putting your all, you're going to get mad at some point, and you're going to look at the situation and you're going to start to feel used. I think that's how many people are starting to feel within organizations, especially,
Hmm.
and I like to hone in on from an ERG perspective because there's so many people that are giving it their all to really drive DEI efforts within an organization, but they're not being supported or resourced properly.
Yeah. And I think that's interesting because one, I was asked at one point to run, not at where I'm currently at, but I was asked to lead an ERG, and I said no. I was like, I can't volunteer for that. And I think there can be power and grace in your no. Like it doesn't have to be like, no, not absolutely not, not ever.
Right.
It's like if take the time and evaluate what you have the capacity for, what are some of the immediate like needs you have and the company has and your what's open in your schedule and what's not, what can you do? And like I just couldn't do it at the time. Like I
Yeah.
had just gotten promoted, I just had a new baby. I was like too much, and I was like no.
Yeah. You got to
and
look at your situation.
and I
Mhm.
didn't have to explain my situation to anybody. I
Yeah.
just gracefully was like no thank you. Like and I think sometimes we feel, it really pains me sometimes when I watch folks give a no, but they feel like they have to give a long, like, essay about the no.
Right.
And I'm
Right.
like, it's okay to say
Yeah.
no. They will
Yeah.
they will find someone else.
Yeah. And that's how come, I really respect organizations that
Mhm.
say, you know what, this person is taking on this task. I'm
Yeah.
setting this agreement because I want to make sure that we get them to the next level to where they need to be because they're taking on this additional task or that they're compensated for this. And there are
Mhm.
organizations out there that are doing it. I had named Uncork as one of those organizations that are doing it. I highly respect for doing that. But when people have to take on the extra burden and task and they're not even recognized because I think that's the other
Mhm.
layer there. It's like, okay, I'm doing this for the greater good. It's going to impact not only the organization, but people within the organization. So let me just
Yeah.
commit a little bit of my time. But then when you're not even recognized. And so I tell a lot of
Yeah.
leaders, and again, I'm honing in on ERGs here because it's happening a lot around that. I tell a lot of leaders, talk to the groups that you're supporting or sponsoring within your organization. Go back to those leaders managers and tell them about the impact that they're driving because that could have a huge successful impact on that person's career, right?
Yeah.
So talk
And
about them when they're not in the room.
and we always talk about, I mean, the whole one of the big reasons why we created Dipper, we feel there's a need for measurement, right?
Yeah.
So adding that value to the task, initiative, the project, like that is measurable really helps everyone understand why this is important and why your effort, like, should you say yes,
Mhm.
why your effort is impacting the business, impacting each person who works there in a positive way.
Yeah. And I love what Lynn said,
Yeah,
giving recognition due, that's free. So if an organization is not giving
100%.
recognition, then there's a problem, right? That becomes
Yeah.
problematic. Another person said, and thank you, Melody, organizations show value by compensating what's valuable to the organization.
Mhm.
That there is so powerful because that's so
Yep.
true, right? Oh
Yeah.
my goodness, this
And
is
if it's not, if it's,
conversation.
I
Yeah.
think if it's not important to them, then they probably
Mhm.
won't pay for it. Like,
Right,
right?
right.
And I think that comes, like, I know there's so many people on here who are consultants or just like subject matter experts, and you
Right.
will often get pinged to speak, even
Mhm.
to present, to do things. And people will say, oh, well, it's your name's going to get out there.
Right. And you're just like,
You,
"Well, my name is already out there." So
it's like, and you can say no. You can say
right.
no. And, I think it's fine. It's totally fine. I know when someone asked me to do a keynote in Vegas, front, like, I'm coming from New York, I'm doing a keynote in Vegas, and I'm like, the gift is free admission to the conference.
Oh, no.
I
Wait,
think I called
you
you,
said,
Netta,
"Hey,
and
tell me about this."
I was like, what? How much do I need to charge for this? Like, they are effectively asking me to volunteer. Like, the topic is something I'm super passionate about. I love
Right.
it. I'm all about tech, growth,
Mhm.
marketing, product, user acquisition, all of that. And so I was like, I mean, what do I say? And talking to folks like Netta, just other folks in my group, um, I just politely was like, this is my rate. And they paid it.
Mm,
Like, and they were a little like, oh, well, we were
right.
hoping it would
Mm,
be blah, 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 blah. And I was like, look, this is what I would deliver in, like,
mhm.
slides. I would speak for this long, blah, 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 blah. And for that service, because
Yeah.
I made it very clear, like, you are not asking me to volunteer. You are asking me for a professional service. For that professional service is XYZ.
I love all of it. Can I give you a virtual 5 right now? I'm so proud. Oh my goodness. I did that
Yes,
too. You know what? If I'm
I
being
learned it from you. Learned it from you.
yes, yes. I'm so proud. For a very long time, I had a very tough time saying, "Hey, no,
Mhm.
I need to be paid for this." For a
Mhm.
very long time, I did things for free.
Yeah.
When I knew that, wait, hold on, I had built up this brand equity, right? I have honed in on my craft, so I know the value that I could bring, but there was and I don't know what it was, but there was so much fear in sharing what my rate was. And I had to take a
Mm.
step back and I had to assess and say, "Okay, hold on, Netta. Hold on, Netta. Do you and can you bring value to the table? And what is that
Yeah.
value?" And once I started to dive in, I'm like, "Well, hold on." Yeah, I do. That is when I was just like, okay. It got a bit more easier for me to then say, "Here's my rate." And I had to also be okay with saying and walking away from those things.
Mhm.
Even those times where I felt like, "Oh my goodness, that would be incredible exposure." But I would always go
Yeah.
back to, but if I was that valued, right, by that conference producer or whoever was putting that on, then I would be paid.
Mhm.
And what we're seeing right now is there's a bit of division because there are some speakers that are getting an exponential amount of money or funding just to speak, and where there others are not. And that's where racial equity and imbalance
Mm.
comes into play. Yeah,
'Cause, like, so the value of work volunteerism is not an equal opportunity experience, it sounds like, a
it's
lot
not.
of times.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's not. And so That's how come it's so critical for, anyone, no matter who you are, to really go back to the
Right.
time assess and say, okay, I know the value that I'm bringing. I know my work very well, and I'm not taking this opportunity, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And then I share
Yeah. It's totally
when,
fine.
yeah, when you have the budget, or when you're more open to
Yeah.
compensation and compensating me, then yeah, let's have a conversation. We can
Yeah.
move forward.
Absolutely.
So
And I love there's when we talked about this topic, something that my mom used to tell me when I was little, and I think she told me this the other day too when we were talking about something. She was like, "Baby, everything is not for you." And I'm
mm,
like,
yeah,
it's not.
yeah, absolutely.
It's not.
Well, you know
It's
what?
not, you know?
Those things were for me. That's fine. That's
And
fine.
it's okay. And it's
Yeah.
okay. And that's why we think, we really value this space, have a network, people you can tap, because maybe an opportunity to volunteer or could likely lead to an opportunity to step up at work. And sometimes it's good to just like chat with other people about that. Chat even within your org, like saying, hey, like I'll use an example, internship program. Maybe your company is spinning up an internship program and you're like, should I volunteer for this? But possibly you're someone who's never managed someone before and you're trying to seek out opportunities to like grow into a management role and show and prove that you can do it, and I think it's setting that communication from the beginning with your senior leadership or whomever is involved in the activity is really clear, because then it's like, this is why I'm doing this to build up to this thing, and it's going to value me, it's going to be of value to the company too. But don't just like run in there and start doing it and none of this was communicated, none of your expectations were communicated.
Yeah, and it goes back to what we were talking about last week, agreements. Make sure that you
Mm-hmm.
set that agreement. If you are
Yeah.
going to take on that task and you feel like, no, 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 this task puts my career in the right direction, then set an agreement with the
Yeah.
manager or whoever is asking you to complete that task. Hey, if I do this, I'm really successful at it. What does that then mean for my career?
Right.
What is the next step?
100%.
What can we agree
Mm-hmm.
to? Well, it looks like that's our time. That went
Woo,
so fast.
so
Um,
fast.
Thank you all for contributing. I see the comment section. What I love about this,
Yes.
Jacinta, is like folks love engaging. And we
Thank
love
you.
engaging right back with
I
you.
love
So
all y'all. And I
I
thought it would be
know.
slow because it's a holiday week. I know some folks are still like catching up or still
Yeah,
off. But it has been so good to just catch up with you, Netta, and everyone who's been engaging in the comments.
absolutely. Thank you, everyone. Take care.